What's up, guys? Carpool MMA. I'm your host, Ian Parker. Sorry for the coughs. I'm laughing because I've tried to shoot this video 4 times. I keep getting interrupted. So now I want to speed through this as fast as I can. Keep your guys' attention, one, two, not get frustrated at having to say the same thing a bunch of times. So first and foremost, to those of you that enjoyed my interview with Ben Askren, thank you. Ben and I go way back. It's a lot of fun catching up. And I think moving forward, I'm going to have a bunch of other fighters on. We're going to do straight picks with upcoming cards. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. You know, I know Ariel Helwani, Luke Thomas, Brendan Schaub, all these guys do their interviews, and that's kind of what they're good at. I'm more along the lines of a guy that likes to debate, make my picks, and prove people wrong. And sometimes when fighters, I like also to hear fighters' point of view on fights. It's kind of cool when you got a guy like Ben Askren, who is a top 5 guy, right, at welterweight, or top 6, 7, whatever, you know, and a guy of his personality. It's kind of cool to get his vibe and his opinion on fights. And he chose Kelvin Gastelum. He also chose Max Holloway. For those of you that didn't catch the interview, you should. It's on my channel. Feel free to subscribe and watch that. All right. Also, I apologize for getting Israel Adesanya's name wrong. As you can see, I've corrected myself. Cool. Moving forward. UFC 236, Atlanta. Let's go. First fight, Montel Jackson, Andre Sukumath. Montel Jackson's minus 400 and change. Do not bet that fight straight up. However, do put him in a parlay. I don't see him losing this fight. I think his athleticism is just going to be all he needs to win. Again, you guys know how I feel about individual bets. That's too much on the odd side of it, but parlaying should be good to go. I like that. Bilal Muhammad versus Curtis Millender, okay? I think we saw Millender really expose in his last fight, and Bilal Muhammad is a similar fighter. Good striking, even stronger grappler, very smart fighter on the ground. I think he is going to, and I don't think Millender took enough time off from his last fight to go work on what he needs to do. Hate when guys do that because he could be a force at 170. He's a very big welterweight, but because he is not, just does not give himself enough time to evolve. I think Bilal Muhammad at minus 130 is a steal. I think you take him. I think he's smart enough and good enough and strong enough to get into that. Just get right in there with him, throw a couple jabs, avoid the range, get in there, get the fight to the ground, and he will win. Okay? Moving on, Nikita Krylov versus OSP. Interesting fight here. It's hard. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, OSP got dominated by Dominic Reyes. He did. And that to me shows one of two things. One, Reyes is the real deal because OSP is no pushover. However, my biggest issue with OSP is the lack of evolution in his game. When he first came into MMA, First Strike Force, but since a lot of you guys probably didn't watch him there, when he came to the UFC, he was really known as this big-time college, football player that transitioned over to MMA. And what you saw was that he really liked kicking. And he was really able to threaten the striking. But what you really saw was him taking guys down, working his ground and pound. I know everyone will say, the bomb flu choke. I know. Okay, but his ground and pound was what really got him to a level of success very quick earlier on in his career. However, he's kind of gotten away from that, and he couldn't get Dominic Reyes down. So he's forced to strike, and I just don't think that his game has gotten better anywhere. Nikita Krylov left the UFC on his own terms, not because they didn't want to re-sign him. He wanted to leave, all right? He left. He's back. Was his last fight amazing to watch? No. Remember, maybe a little bit rusty, whatever. However, I think he's the more evolved fighter from the last time they fought. For those of you guys that don't know, they did fight a little while back, and Nikita got von flued by OSP. However, I just don't see it happening this time. I think Krylov's overall game has just gotten that much better. His wrestling has gotten better. His striking has gotten better. More importantly, his cardio, I think, is definitely better. OSP looks to get, he always seems to gas a couple minutes into that second round, and then he has to throw that Hail Mary left high kick. I think Krylov wins this fight. Right now, they're both minus 115. I like Nikita Krylov. Moving on. Alan Jouban, coming off of his win against Ben Saunders, was supposed to fight, right? Was that happen or whatever? Injured, and then that is what happened. He fought, won, knocked him out. Supposed to fight again, but then he had a bulging disc in his neck, so he's been out for a little bit. That's no joke of an injury, right? And he's going against a guy named Dwight Grant, who's also, listen, you guys are going to be like, Dwight Grant only had a couple fights in the UFC, was on the Contender Series. Guys, Dwight Grant's fucking 34 years old. He's not a child. Age does matter when you're seasoned, and it does. Sometimes if you're in the sports and you're like 22 years old, a guy like Nick Diaz has been around a while, right? Nate Diaz, all these guys, but he's at 34 that really hasn't taken a lot of damage. All right. Um, Alan Jouban, we know exactly who he is. He is a striker. He's a power striker. He's an in-your-face fighter. Very good leg kicks. But a lot of guys have good leg kicks. I think Dwight Grant, I know Kenny Florian on his podcast picked Alan Jouban. I think he kind of picked him more out of friendship than he did out of true picks. I just think that Dwight Grant's athleticism, I think he's just going to move around too much. I don't think he's going to get into a slugging battle with Jouban. And if he does, that's tough. However, I just don't see it going this way. I think Grant's athleticism, I think he's going to be in and out. I think he's going to utilize all, facets of the game. And I think Dwight Grant's going to surprise some people here. He's not really an underdog in the fight per the odds, but because of his name compared to what we know about Alan Jouban, he is to a lot of casual MMA fans. Personally, I like Dwight Grant in this fight. Again, as long as he doesn't brawl, I think he wins. All right. So there's my pick there. Who else we got? Eric Andrews, Khalil Roundtree. I heard someone on a podcast, I don't know which one it was, saying Khalil Roundtree is super committed since he lost his last fight to Johnny Walker in the clinch, so he moved to Thailand. Who gives a fuck? Like moving to Thailand to work on your clinch when you're a striking fighter is great, but when you don't have good takedown defense and you're not really good off your back in jiu-jitsu, I would think I would maybe go to like Renzo Gracie's academy, go to Matt Serra, or go to AKA with Cormier and go work on your wrestling. Don't go to Thailand and work on your clinch when you're already a striker. I know there's two different types of striking guys, but like you're now fighting a guy who is well-rounded enough and loves to utilize his wrestling and do it the right way by setting up his striking. I think Eric Anders is a good bet here. He went from minus 200 to minus 175, which I think is fantastic, because now I'm all over Eric Anders in this. Roundtree beating Gokhan Saki was more of a Saki being too confident, not expecting someone else to tap his chin, okay? However, Eric Anders, I know the Elias Theodoro fight. I personally thought Anders won that fight. He's lost a few, but Anders is a better overall athlete. I know you guys hear me say that a lot, but that matters in this day and age in the sport, man. It really, really matters. And it matters more because he's fighting a guy that's a little too one-dimensional for me in Roundtree. Okay, I think Anders has a better fight IQ as well. I'm hoping Eric utilizes his strength to set up the wrestling to bring the fight to the ground. If that fight goes to the ground, it's his fight all day, every day. If he wants to stand in the pocket and trade with Roundtree, that's going to be tough. I don't see him doing that. I don't want to get too deep into the analysis of this fight because you don't need to go too deep. I like Eric Anders. I'm sticking with that for all the reasons I just spoke about. You guys may have a difference of opinion. You may say, oh, well, Roundtree, if he hits him once, he's done. That's any fighter at any time. When you got 4-ounce baby gloves on you, you touch anyone's chin, they're going down. Again, Anders, his overall game is just better. I think he's smarter. I think he utilizes his wrestling. I don't like Roundtree when he's on his back. If you put boxing gloves on him, okay. But in this fight, I don't see Anders being stupid. I don't think he's got an ego. Plus, guys, remember, when a guy loses a few in a row and his job's on the line, they tend to fight a little bit more conservatively, which it works out great for Anders, meaning that if he focuses on his wrestling and takes Roundtree to the ground, that's perfect because Roundtree tends to be a little too hesitant with his striking. And when that happens, guys like Anders can take over that fight, which I think will happen. Eric Anders, I like that. All right. On to the two fights that you guys are probably waiting to hear more than anything because they're exciting. All right. Israel Adesanya. Make sure I didn't. There's no notes here. I'm in my car. I don't have cue cards. Adesanya. It's like saying Beetlejuice. All right. First, Kelvin Gastelum. Weird fight for me, man. Weird fight. This is one of those situations where I think the UFC, they see a start Adesanya, but I think that's about to come to a halt. Let's think about who Adesanya has fought just in his last three fights. Anderson Silva, which we all know is not the same Anderson Silva before Weidman, ended his reign. Okay? Derek Brunson, top 10, fine. He's an okay wrestler with a power right hand that striking against Adesanya is just not smart. I actually was more impressed with his fight against Brad Tavares because he was throwing Tavares around, and Tavares is a strong guy. But he's never fought a top 5 guy. He's never fought a real wrestler, and he's never fought another guy who's fought to the top. People are going to talk about Adesanya being 6'3" and Kelvin being 5'9". Okay? I'm going to compare another fighter, size and height-wise, to Adesanya. Not level of striking, but Chris Weidman is also 6'3". He is also one of the bigger middleweights who fought Kelvin Gastelum. All right? Chris won that fight by submission. But do you guys recall what Kelvin did in that first round? Okay? He hung around. Remember, he fought Chris Weidman, and everyone who knows the sport knows Weidman, wrestler, phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy with good striking. Okay? So Kelvin was going against a better wrestler, a better jiu-jitsu guy, right? But Kelvin still was able to get into the pocket and was still able to be a pressure fighter on Chris, and he knocked Chris on his ass at the end of that first round. Did he win that fight? No. Chris still submitted him and dominated the fight. But my point is that Kelvin has fought. Everyone is bigger than Kelvin in that division. But he's fought very tall guys before is kind of my point. He's also got a great chin. He's got great cardio. And he's a pressure fighter. Adesanya, I think this might be too much too soon, man. His striking game is great. He uses his range perfectly. But I don't, and his takedown defense is good, but from who did we see that against? Not Anderson Silva. Derek Brunson kind of telegraphed it. Brad Tavares telegraphed it because Tavares wanted to, show his striking, and then at some point it was kind of like Hail Mary double legs and single legs that never went anywhere. I would have liked to have seen Adesanya fight. I don't even know. I just think that I would have liked to see him fight like Apollo Costa, or actually I would have liked to see him fight like Yoel Romero. Okay? I would have loved to see him fight Chris Weidman, but Weidman is still recovering from surgery, etc. This is just, a lot of you guys want to be on the hype train. I understand it, man. He's fun to watch, but I don't think you guys realize who Kelvin's fought. Jacare, he's fought Weidman. I mean, look, guys, just go to ShareDog or Google Kelvin, who he's fought, who he's beaten. He's done it all, okay? And he's still young. He's hungry. I just think that Kelvin is a different fighter that Adesanya hasn't fought yet. And I think that that's where the problem is going to be. I think Kelvin's going to win. I don't know. We don't know about Adesanya's cardio yet. He's never been in a 5-round fight. He's never been in this situation. So, man, I think Kelvin is smart enough as well. Kelvin's not going to brawl. Listen, it's very simple here. Kelvin is going to make sure that Adesanya can't use his range. Okay? And Adesanya cannot execute the range striking game, then this fight's all Kelvin Gastelum. I personally am shocked that Gastelum is as big as an underdog as he is. I love Kelvin Gastelum as an underdog in this fight. I got my money on Gastelum. I think you guys should too. I think he's like plus 140 or 150 right now. Lock it in. I'm taking Kelvin Gastelum. I think Gastelum striking is very good. I think he gets inside, and I think he's going to put Adesanya on his back. We have not really seen him on his back for too much, but I cannot see it being better than anyone that Gastelum has already fought against. So, Kelvin Gastelum is my pick. All right? Now for the main event of the evening. Interim lightweight title fight between Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Holy shit. This fight is interesting. All right? I don't even look at the last time they fought because it really doesn't matter. I try to look at where these guys, if you want to look at two guys that have evolved the most in the last few years of their career, this is 1 and 2. I think Max Holloway is the most evolved fighter, period, in the sport from the first time he stepped foot in the UFC compared to now. Dustin's obviously come a long way, clearly. Man, this is so hard. Last time I checked, Poirier was plus 190. All right? Listen, there's a couple things we got to take into account here. Number one, let's talk about Max Holloway. For those of you that pay attention know that I won $25,000. I took Holloway against Brian Ortega. I think it was hilarious that everyone gave Ortega a chance. Ortega did knock out Frankie Edgar, and that's not a knock on Frankie. Frankie got caught, fine. But Max Holloway is not Frankie Edgar, okay? And Ortega is nowhere near the striking level. He's a jiu-jitsu guy with okay striking, but most of his fights were come from behind wins, and you're not coming from behind on, that sounded terrible. You're not going to be winning if you're trailing Max Holloway in the fight. You're not coming back and beating Holloway. He's just too smart to get caught in a stupid guillotine submission in the third, fourth, or fifth round. You know what I think is going to happen. This is just so hard. Both guys have great cardio. Okay, both guys are different types of strikers. Holloway is a volume guy. Okay, man, this is so difficult. All right, Holloway has been extremely dominant with his title run, but he has not fought at 55 yet in the UFC. Okay, that's where I struggle a little bit with betting on Max here. I know you guys may think, well, what does that mean? It means he hasn't been hit by a heavier guy straight on. All right. I don't think Max has really been hit all that crazy in the jaw to begin with, so we don't really know. Holloway's good off his back. Okay. There's something about Dustin in this fight that makes me want to pull the trigger on Poirier, and I think I'm going to do that here. I think I'm taking Dustin Poirier. All right. The reason why I say this is this has been a long time coming for Poirier to get to that title fight. He has fought. I mean, what he's done in this 55 division, his last few fights have been nothing short of spectacular. Finishing Gaethje, I think what that takes away. Do I think Gaethje is as good as fighter as Max Holloway? I do not. But what does that mean here? Dustin can take punches, okay, and he can also deliver them. Okay, you're probably thinking like, oh, it's a general statement. No, 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 guys. Think about what Gaethje has done to everyone else when he's landed, between the kicks, the punches. All right, he kicked the fuck out of Poirier's leg, and Poirier still went and still kept going, and he finished Gaethje. That's challenging, man. I don't see Holloway finishing Poirier on the feet. I don't know if Max has the power to do that. Okay? That's a difference here. I think Dustin has the power. I don't know if Max is not a power puncher, he's a volume guy. I'm going to take Dustin Poirier here by decision. Okay? I just have a weird feeling that he's ready. If any time to take Dustin, it's now. He's got momentum on his side. Listen, finishing Alvarez, finishing Gaethje, that just puts a different level of confidence in you. Okay? In the second fight in the rematch with Holloway and Aldo, I think Aldo won the first 2 rounds, which means that Holloway could lose rounds. And Aldo got tired, and then Holloway finished him. I don't see that happen with Poirier, so I'm going Dustin Poirier. I know you're probably thinking like, oh, he's just go. Listen, there's been an underdog theme in these main events for a really long time. Obviously Masvidal, Showtime Pettis. Gaethje was an underdog a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna ride the wave here. I love Max Holloway, dude. I think he's a phenomenal fight. If he wins, it wouldn't surprise me, But I don't know. I may have gone anyone who was the underdog here, but I'm going Dustin Poirier. I'm not. I don't know. There's something about it that tells me that he's gonna win this fight. And then Holloway will go back to 45 and continue his reign there. So I'm going Dustin Poirier. So, guys, I appreciate the time. Keep following those that tune into my channel. Thank you. We're going to keep having fun with this. I'm going to get more guests on. All right. Tell your friends that like to watch MMA, like to bet. Let's get some more subscribers here. All right. And if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me through my Twitter handle, Instagram, Parker Cage Hero. You can DM me. I try my best to get back to everybody as soon as possible. If you have any other questions. Otherwise, enjoy the fights. I know I will. This is going to be crazy, man. I'm so looking forward to this card. All right, guys? Talk soon.